Hey, this is Mike from One Stop Co-op Shop, and today I'm doing a Kickstarter review of Ruins Deathbinder. Quick disclaimer that I received no compensation for this review, and in this case I'm not even getting a review copy, I just played a prototype demo. Ruins Deathbinder is a quick-playing, card-based dungeon delve for 1 to 2 players that uses reverse deck building and card-based combat. If you want to see the game in action, check out my full playthrough of an entire level in the game. So what do I enjoy about the game? Quite a lot, actually. First, the game's really accessible. It's easy to teach, setup takes very little time at all, and playing through one level won't usually take you more than 30 minutes. That, combined with the fact that it's for 1 to 2 players, makes me compare this a lot to One Deck Dungeon, and I think it holds up pretty well in that comparison. The card abilities tend to be fun and varied, and you do have some nice comboing between them. And even the dungeon delve itself has some interesting decisions in which path you follow, how much you challenge yourself, how deep you dig into the enemy deck, how much you strive and get greedy for experience. And speaking of experience, I like leveling your character. So far in my plays, I felt like every single path I might level feels useful, so there's not one obvious way I should go, and I do enjoy that. But the main standout here is the reverse deck building, and not necessarily in the way you might think. I don't find the actual deck building part to be the best aspect of it. What I really love is the resource management, because this deck that you're trimming cards from is also your life. If you run out of cards by trimming too much, you lose. This makes the decisions in combat a lot more interesting, because sometimes you could destroy an enemy with a huge attack of 4 cards, but then you're going to really thin your deck and leave yourself vulnerable later. So you might want to slow play and only hit them a little bit several turns in a row, but then you might lose too much life, and healing makes you remove cards from your deck. So it's a really cool interplay, and I just like kind of managing that resource and trying to get a fine-tuned deck that'll fight just the way I want, while also having enough cards to just survive. So what concerns do I have, keeping in mind that I've only played an early prototype of the game? My main one is balance, and I'm not saying the balance is bad, I think it's actually pretty good so far. But this game is going to live or die based on the leveling being fairly balanced, based on the monsters being tough, but not too tough as you progress, same thing with the bosses. From what I've seen so far, I think they're probably going to get this right, but it is an important thing, and the prototype I saw yet wasn't there, so I just hope they do enough development and playtesting to make sure it's perfect. Another small concern is that the events seem pretty boring right now. Resting is fine because you level up and have tough choices there, and combat is very interesting, but the events are just kinda quick and perfunctory. That might be okay because combat is the main event and you don't really want to take too long with that other stuff, but it is just a minor annoyance. My final possible concern is variety in the game, and I haven't seen the full Kickstarter, so I don't know if they're going to give expansions or extra cards. I think the scenarios are going to give the game a lot of legs, I think the delve mode works really well, and the enemies have a nice mix of variety, and so do the cards. The one thing is though, at least in the version I played, you always see all of the level 1 enemies before you go to the level 2 ones. You always see basically all of the cards as you call your deck. So if you play the game over and over and over again, these might get a little too samey. So I'm hoping that the Kickstarter offers some way to kind of expand that pool so that you don't use every action card every time you play, you don't use every level 1 enemy every time you play, but there is some variety in the setup. But overall, I think Ruins Deathbinder is a great, quick, fun little dungeon romp for 1 to 2 players. The co-op works well in that you sort of attack enemies together, but have to split them between yourselves. And I think if you like One Deck Dungeon, if you like Unbroken, if you like Slay the Spire, because this is heavily inspired by that video game, you're going to really enjoy Ruins Deathbinder. Good gaming, everyone, and I'll see you at the next stop.